Hello, EKN Nation, and welcome to a new episode of the EKN Hot Seat, episode 13. It is July 15th, 2026. I am David Cole, your host, EKN Managing Editor, and today with me, we're going to stick with the shifter theme a little bit as we had Adrian Renaud on our last show. We're going to go with Kyle Wick this time of GFC Karting and of Wicked Racing. So, Kyle, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So let's start off with, again, how I always like to do the hot seat, because I like to introduce a lot of people to who you are and kind of where you come from. How did you get involved in karting, and where did you begin karting?
I began karting when I was 6. My uncle raced go-karts in the early to late 90s. And then my dad raced dirt karts in the late 90s. So they already had relationships with some people, and they had a cart on the wall waiting for me to say I wanted to go. And they took me to the track when I was 5, and so my other grandpa got me an electric cart to drive around the yard. And then a couple months later, I was going, "Hey, Dad, can we go to that go-kart track?" And it was a track in Mountain Highway, Spanaway, Washington is where I started. And that's where I raced mostly for the first 2 or 3 years. That was the only track I went to, and just did club races and didn't even know what a regional race was at the time. And just slowly started going to bigger and bigger stuff.
Well, since you said it, you're actually going to that racetrack this weekend, correct? For the Northwest Karting Association.
Yeah, that's where our next race is. So tomorrow morning, we're headed out there to set up and get ready.
How have things changed at that racetrack? Obviously, it's a club racetrack. Puget Sound, I believe, runs that racetrack, correct?
Yep. Yes, Puget Sound Karting Association, I think.
Yeah. How has that racetrack changed at all since when you started racing?
Not significantly at all. There used to be, I guess, kind of like log style curbs in the one chicane, and they and they were laying on top of the asphalt. So they took and put a kind of more of a CIK curb on the inside. And then they changed one corner because it was really sharp coming onto the back straight. So they moved the apex 5 or 10 feet closer to kind of shorten both straightaways. But the surface and everything is the same as it was when I started.
So what was the first engine combination that you did start with?
It was a top cart with a Comer 50.
Okay.
It was red.
Yeah.
And that was the first one.
So painted red. So yeah, I look back at you mentioned your uncle in a previous article we did with you. I can't, I'm terrible at names. So his first name was Todd. How do you say the last name?
Ropo.
Okay. So I look back, he was an Italian Motors driver for a while.
Yeah.
Did you get to see him race at all, or was that all before you were born?
All before I was born.
Okay. So even your dad, did you ever get to see your dad race?
No, nope.
So is that just weird? Like, does that feel weird? Cause you see a lot of, kind of multiple generations. You kind of see, the father and the son kind of either at the racetrack together or seen each other race. Was that weird at all for you to not be able to see like your family members race before, or have you had them jump back in the cart recently or anytime?
At the time, I guess I didn't even know. When I was 5 or 6, I didn't even know that they used to do it, kind of thing.
Okay.
And then I learned more about it and see the pictures, because it was my Uncle Todd has 2 brothers, and all 3 of them raced at one point.
Okay.
Uncle Todd was just the fastest, and he's the one that was the most into it, and he kept doing it a bit longer.
Gotcha. And he's never come back since then.
No, I tried to get him to come out and help at the races. I was like, "You can do some coaching." He's like, "What do I do?" I was like, "You watch the video, tell him what to do." He's like, "But it's different." I'm like, "No, there's no way it's changed that much."
Well,
the apex at Spanaway is still the apex.
And that's what I feel like. You go to a lot of these local race or smaller racetracks, club racetracks, and those who were there in the 80s and 90s, they could still come back and they could drive it with their eyes closed, essentially, because the track hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Do you have that feeling when you go there or other racetracks? Because again, you've been doing this for a long time now.
Yeah, whenever I go to like the local tracks, it's always like it immediately. You go out to Spanaway and it just feels right immediately. It's like in the shifter, it's like low 28 seconds. and you first gear twice. Like it's a small track. Like
Yeah.
it's fun. Went there with my buddies in the winter. We had like a PGP race on Sunday, but the track closed on Saturday. So we practiced at PGP on Friday. And then I was like, everyone's hanging out on Saturday. I'm like, well, we can go to Spanaway and make some laps. And it was like me and my buddies and have a good time out there in a Briggs
Yeah.
because it's that tight.
It's fun. What aside from that, what are in your early years of karting? What were some of your best memories you have of that being there?
I guess out there in Spanaway, it was not that serious, obviously, and where all the little kids are running around. We're out causing havoc, dumping stuff on the ants' nests, and just screwing off, right?
Yeah. Um, so as you kind of worked your way up through the karting ranks, what were some of the different brands you talked? Top Kart was your first kart. What
Yeah.
other brands have you competed on?
Then I did the kid kart for 1 year. The next year, I got an SKM, and I
Okay.
did that for 2 years. And then the next year, we kind of had everything. We got a 1010 CRG to race Minimax, and
Okay.
it was bad at the time. So then somebody let us borrow their 950 CRG. We did that one race. Then we had an Ital kart because it was like the SKM. And then we ended up, we did the SKM didn't have brakes to run a Minimax. Like
Okay.
they were small and didn't work for how fast the Minimax was. So I ended up using that once and we changed the brakes, and that's the kart I ran for the next 2 years. And then we went to wild kart at the
Okay.
end of my cadet. That was what we did for the last year. And then at that time, we started getting coaching with RPG. Before it was RPG, really. We'd go to Pat's and Raleigh was coaching. So then as soon as it was time for a full size, I got a Cosmic and started running Rotex Junior with RPG.
Yeah. How did the wild card get in there? Who was the connection there?
Um, Davey Manthai was
Ah,
a local kid with the wild card, and he did other races and stuff, and they ran well. So that's where
they were part of the Cartel Motorsports
Yep.
program that had Stingray Robb, Davey, and
Right.
I believe Blaine Rocha was part of that as well
Yep.
too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good connection because it's I remember them coming up and it's funny, we always call Stingray, Rob, when he first announced him, he called him Ray Rob because he thought it was a nickname. And so
Yep.
now even you look on social media at some of the interviews he even did this year, it's always talking about his name. Yeah. So you kind of mentioned the mini max, going into mini max. That was kind of your progression from club to regional. And then you actually went into the national racing about 2011. I looked back,
11.
you
Yep.
were doing mini max at the Grand Nationals, the Rotex Grand
Yep.
Nationals at Miller Motorsports Park.
Yeah. That was I did the challenge at the beginning of the year was kind of our first go, and we didn't really know what we were getting into, and
Okay.
we weren't planning on doing the whole series or anything. And then I won the first day, and then it was like, okay, I guess we have to come back now. And obviously the year didn't go as well as we would have hoped after opening up, but I think I got second in the championship and had a good first kind of outside of the Northwest series. So we decided to do the nationals were at Miller, so we were able to drive there and do it on a
Yeah.
accessible budget for us.
Yeah. I have you win. Have you 11th in that field. I was looking back at the names and we just did a flashback to that event actually
Yeah,
last Friday.
I saw that.
There's a lot of big names in that mini max field.
There was. Yeah.
Do you does it make you feel weird to kind of see, like, again, Stingray Robb up in IndyCar, and it's like all these other different names that have gone on through different forms of motorsports? Does it make you feel old, or does it make you feel like honored to be like, hey, I raced against these guys?
Yeah, it's honored, I think, more than old at this point, because it's like I remember racing Colton Herta and Stingray and
Yeah.
those people that we see racing, right?
Yeah.
So
you actually kind of transitioned a little bit into Supercar 2SA racing in 2012, from what I could find.
yeah,
You went back to Miller. You actually finished P4 there in Tag Junior. What was kind of the thought again, you guys were pretty much a father-son team, correct, at that time?
Yeah, it was. It was always my dad mechanicking, and we just go to the races with RPG. Um,
So was it just kind of the RPG thing? Hey, we have,
yeah,
there's opportunities here. Let's
yeah,
try
exactly. They
something
were like,
different.
yeah, I think we did challenge. Like, I think we did 2 rounds of challenge in 2012,
Okay.
maybe. And then it was like, oh, they're gonna do tag, and we had an old Leopard, and Raleigh thought that I'd do good. And we went to Pat's, and they were like, oh, no way his engine's right, because I didn't use the brakes. And on that, compared to like the Mojo on the MG at the time, you just drove it way harder, and you
Yeah.
could get away with being way more aggressive. And I
Okay.
remember when we went to Miller, I think I qualified around fifth both days, and then won 3 out of the 4 heats. But by the final, the front tires were gone because I just didn't use the brakes. So I think it was Raleigh thought that I'd do good, and so he told my dad that that's where we should go and try it out.
So you did a lot of junior racing there, both Rotax and Supercars USA as well. And then eventually you moved up to the senior ranks and you went right into shifter racing, correct? Or did you do some single speed stuff?
No, I didn't do any single speed senior I did it occasionally, but it wasn't definitely not the main focus. It was straight to the shifter. We wanted to do something different than what we had been doing. And at the time, there was a really good stock Honda field in the Northwest. Like the year before, there was 15, 18 shifters each weekend. And so it was about the same number that there was of Rotax seniors. So made sense. It was a competitive field at the time. Unfortunately, it all fizzled out within the first 2 years of starting. But it was still a good experience to get learning.
Well, I have here 2016, 2015, actually, you were S2 at the Supernats. 2016, 2017, you were still S2. And then it was even 2017, you were still in the S2 program as well. So 4 years in S2. Do you think that helped you in the driver development side of going from junior racing to actually shifter racing without any shifter experience whatsoever?
I felt like, it gave me more time, obviously, to learn the shifter. I think it was 15, 16, 17 in the shifter.
Okay.
In S2. But by the time, I guess, in my eyes, at the end of when we were doing that last year in S2, there was most of the races, if you look at the times that the S2s were doing, it was like, what? Like, we're doing the same. Pretty often, I remember in Sonoma, I qualified overall pole in the S2, and it's like, okay. But then I think I got second in the race that day. So it's like S2 was really competitive that year, and it was like, we should all be in S1 racing with those guys. So I moved up for Super Nationals that year.
Okay. Was there any thought as a junior driver doing S5, or was it just focusing on kind of the tag junior side and Rotax junior?
Yeah, we were just focused on the tag junior stuff. I know I don't think the S5 was super big that year, but I know Raleigh had a couple and he had no tag juniors. So I went and did I think I did Spring Nationals at Dallas that year.
Yeah.
With Raleigh. That was one of our first races where Raleigh wanted me to come. He was like, you need to come do this race. I was like, all right.
Yeah, so what do you remember about Dallas? Because I remember a lot about that weekend.
My side, I remember the engine wasn't very good and the track was sticky. Yeah. And we were getting beat out of the corners really bad, and Raleigh's like, well, then we just put teeth on. And we put teeth on, and they'd go away the second half of the straight. And somebody was passing in front of me. I don't remember who anybody was, but there was somebody passing in front of me and like, oh, I'm going to go. And the kid turned in like he should. And I ran over him and got a flat tire. I didn't notice I had a flat tire until the cart kept trying to tip over. I was like, what's going on? This thing keeps trying to tip over every time I turn left.
We pause this show for a quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. From Florida to California to Las Vegas, it's time to rock. The 2026 season for the Rockers begins in the Sunshine State as Rock Cup USA hosts the 28th edition of the Florida Winter Tour. The championship is underway, having welcomed competitors to the Orlando Kart Center over the January 16th to 18th weekends for round 1 of the title chase. Rockers return to the Orlando, Florida facility for round 2 of the championship on the February 6th to 8th weekend. After that, for the first time in series history, the Florida Winter Tour will travel to the T4 Kartplex facility in Palmetto, Florida on the March 6th to 8th weekend for the season finale. Looking ahead, mark down the year-end celebration with the annual Rock Vegas event, set for October 28th to November 1st at the Rio All-Suite Hotel and Casino. Rock Sonoma returns in 2026 with its 2 championship format. Take part in the Triple Crown 1 program from March to May, with the second Triple Crown Championship competing from June to September. There'll be different track layouts, Rock Vegas tickets, and much more available at Rock Sonoma. Visit rockcupusa.com for all the details and information surrounding the Florida Winter Tour, Rock Vegas, Rock Sonoma, and much more.
The karting championship that's taken Europe by storm and helped launch today's top open-wheel stars is now in the United States. Introducing Champions of the Future America. Champions of the Future America is a 9-round series that welcomes drivers across multiple classes, including Mini, KA100, and X30. Champions of the Future America tours 2 of the Southwest's premier karting facilities, K1 Circuit in Southern California and Spring Mountain Karting Complex in Nevada. Drivers will compete across 8 unique track layouts in pursuit of a prize pool valued at over $130,000. The ultimate reward? Our X30 Pro champion will win an all-expenses-paid trip to France for a 3-day Formula 4 training camp at the legendary Winfield Racing School at Circuit Paul Ricard. Learn more about Champions of the Future America. Register now at championskartingamerica.com. That's championskartingamerica.com.
There's a new evolution in the karting industry, and it's coming from Foundation Wheel Development. FWD is manufacturing purpose-built steering wheels for youth racers. Offering 2 different grip sizes, FWD fills the void in a market where only full-size steering wheels exist, so your young driver can maintain a consistent grip feel from kid karts to full-size karts. The rookie models, engineered for 5 to 8-year-olds, and the pro model designed for ages 9 to 12, offer ideal ergonomics and a hand-matching comfortable grip, noted to decrease hand and muscle fatigue, so your young racer preserves a consistent and confident wheel input feel as they climb the ladder. With a growing product line, FWD has a wheel to suit your needs. Get a grip on the competition and visit fwd-wheel.com to get yours today. Thank you for listening to the EKN Radio Network. We now join the show already in progress.
I got a little too deep into your karting resume, but let's go back to kind of when you were younger and again at the local track. Was there anybody that you kind of looked up to or were you mentored by, aside from before you got to Raleigh? Was there anybody that you kind of looked up to at kind of the local and regional level?
Parker McKean and Stepanova were like the 2 guys that were always fast. And then there was also Johnny Blair, who was getting old by that time, right? He could do masters. He ran Rotax Masters at the time when I was in junior, and he was the fastest senior around here, and it was always like who's faster, Kyle or Johnny, and it was a good later, I guess. Before that, in like the cadet, it was always trying to be as fast as Parker was the year before. He was no longer in cadet, but it was always trying to be as fast as he was the year before.
When you were in the Rotax side of things, was winning the Grand Nationals like a goal, or was it just trying to compete and be as good as you possibly could be?
Yeah, winning was the goal, and I think the speed that we had, both times were close enough to be on the podium. It just the races didn't work out my way.
Was Rotax, like going to the Rotax Grand Finals, was that ever a kind of dream to go and be
Yeah,
part of
that
Team
was
USA?
in junior. That was the goal in 2014. So
Are
we
you,
did.
are you kind of upset that you've never been able to go there?
I got over it. The shifter's cooler.
The shifter took care of that, like doing all the shifter kart racing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Still
speaking of
want to go to the world stage, but
there you go. Yeah, we'll talk about that
soon.
later in a little bit. Yeah. Speaking of shifters, during your time of your progression and into the S1 category and pro shifter, there was the IME 175 SSE engine. What are kind of your thoughts looking back at that engine package and the kind of the racing that kind of came through at that time?
I think, like, realistically, the biggest issue was that there wasn't people at the races. Because for, I guess, the Sweet Tech 175, we didn't have that many problems. I guess, I know people had problems with the rod and problem with this and problem with that, but I got the first engine for Homestead, and we did all of the races and put a rod in it for Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I ran one engine, practice race, the whole time. And occasionally put pistons in it and carb kits every once in a while. I think as they changed the fuel later on and the oil, there became more issues making the carburetor work. Obviously, the high and low needle were backwards from the factory, so tuning it was quite hard. But when I was 8, we ran a PRD that wouldn't run, so I had to figure out how to tune the needles. So when it came time for the 175, they had that guard on there, and I was reaching under the guard trying to make the thing run. Quickly, they took the guard off, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't that hard of a thing to adapt to.
And you've done Rock Shifter, you've done the KZ now. Is the KZ platform kind of the best we have over the last decade, you think?
It is. The Rock had a lot of problems. It's pretend it's more affordable, but then we had, like, with the Rock, you're scared to run it very long on the piston because it's gonna fail and then ruin the cylinder because you can't. If the pin would fall out and then dig on the boost port and then ruin the cylinder in tech. So it was not that enjoyable with the shift. Like, the TM and the IAMEs shift nice, they work nice. They're definitely faster than some people need.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously there is a little bit more maintenance involved. But I do think when you have a practice engine, they live a lot longer than the engines that we take to the races.
Definitely. Let's go back a little bit. Again, you talked about Mike Rollison and Rollison Performance Group. Kind of talk about how that relationship started and kind of how things were in the early years of Rollison Performance Group that you were under the tent.
I don't know who, I guess, contacted Raleigh, but we used to have our friends race team. It was just like, I think there was 5 to 8 of us that would all go to the races together, pit together. And so we all went, and it was like Raleigh had a group training session. We're all on different we had aero karts, wild karts, CRG. Well, I think one kid had a Cosmic, and it was just like training. And that was the first time my dad ever paid for coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what year it was. I think it was 2010, and we drove down to Pat's Acres and got coaching for the first time there. And I think it just kind of, in 2011, we did the races with Raleigh because he could transport our stuff, and it made sense. And then by the end of the year, Raleigh's like, I'm building this go-kart for you to test tomorrow. So we were at a race at, I think it was I-5 corridor at McMinnville, and Raleigh was driver coaching the seniors during the race, and he's like, oh, this car I'm building for you tomorrow. And he took and put a pedal kit on it and everything. And on Monday, we went to the track, and he's like, all right, you're driving this, and then started there.
So what was it like under the early years of the RPG tent? It's probably a lot different now than what it is, but I got to assume kind of the attitude and the way he coaches is pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I'm not sure how much coaching he does now, but Yeah, I don't think Raleigh's changed some. Obviously, he has a wife and a kid and a house. Back then, he was staying in an apartment above someone's garage and had a container at Pat's, right? And then it turned into during like when I was in high school, I would go and during midwinter break, spring break, I was going down there and working in the containers, getting stuff ready so that I guess I was working off my tent invoice so I could go to the next race.
Do you feel that that kind of gave you a good work ethic moving forward as you've gone up through your career? Kind of because you see a lot of kids, and I'm sure you see it with some of your customers. We'll talk about that later, but where they're kind of hands off and they're not really doing
Yep.
anything.
Yeah. I never really had the choice for that. My dad was like, by the time I was 11, it was like, you get the go-kart ready if you want to go to the race. So
Okay.
I got the go-kart ready. And it taught me how to do everything. And I'm not scared of working too many hours.
So let's talk about that a little bit because your family, you have a family business, Wicked Fabrication. I believe you're there right now.
I'm actually I'm hiding at Wicked Racing at the moment.
There you go. So there's Wicked Fabrication, and then now you have Wicked Racing, which is your own race team. Kind of talk about how it's a big family kind of deal where you've been working with your dad for the longest time. Now you're kind of doing your own thing with the race team over the last couple of years. Kind of talk about how that all came together and being a family atmosphere style.
Yeah, my dad had worked on cars most of his life. Before I was born, he decided he should get a real job, and he had a real job for a couple of years. And then my mom was told him no, just do it yourself. Start, because he had his own shop right out of high school, but he couldn't get an 18-year-old kid. No one wanted to give him the projects he wanted to do, so he ended up doing a lot of body, mini trucks, lowering them, painting them. But he wanted to do custom cars, but no one would trust him the amount of money and this effort involved in one of those. No one thought he could do it. So then he went and worked at a hot rod shop across town and got to do all the stuff. Just somebody else was collecting the money at the time and just talking to the customers, but he was doing all the work.
Right.
So then in 2002, he started Wicked Fabrication at our house in the garage. And it grew from there. It's a 40 by 60 shop that then later got another extension. So it was up there till 2008 or 2009. And then it moved to the current location. And now their work area right now is 9,000 square feet. It was up to 14 because they had storage and some other stuff that now I took over one of the storage bays over the winter, and then we have an interior shop leasing out another one as well.
So it's kind of the same thing where you've done a lot of driver coaching and working with some drivers under the GFC tent. Now you're kind of doing your own thing, but kind of in tandem with GFC because you're a dealer. You're working with a lot of drivers in your region that help not only the GFC brand, but the whole GFC lifestyle that it is. Talk about why you decided to start your own program.
So at the time I was just racing and coaching, and I had one driver that was having me go to all the races with them. And then it was when we first started doing the KZ, and Marn came and blew all of our doors off. And then we went to Button Willow, and I hurt my ribs. So Gary hopped in to do the race, and Gary beat us.
Okay.
Okay, so that's not good. And so,
wait, what do you mean that's not good? I mean, he is Gary fucking Carlton, right?
but we should be as fast as him. He hasn't driven it. He wasn't testing. He didn't practice because I did the practice day, hurt my ribs. He went out for qualifying and qualified close. And then in the final, he was faster than Billy and faster than Jacob and could have won the race.
Yeah.
So he was like, all right, you guys need to practice because I wasn't driving. Because in 2018, 2019, I don't think it was that serious feeling. We could do, I did Pro Tour in 2019 when I won. I didn't practice. Right. I went one Pro Tour. test weekend, race, test, race. Never, no testing at home in between. Just, it wasn't. I didn't do it. So then it was like, all right, now we need to put some more effort. And he's like, all right, well, I was like, oh, there's a regional race next weekend. He's like, well, then we're going. He's like, I'm coming up and we're going to do the regional race. All right. So me, Jacob, and Connor did the regional race, and he saw how many people and all the stuff. I was like, you guys need to have a properly done team up here, because there's teams but he said, you guys can do good. So then it came time. He was kind of like, you start selling GFCs, then you're going to start racing a GFC kind of deal. So that was kind of the beginning, and then slowly just built it up. Had Connor decided to start racing again, I guess, in the Northwest. And so I got him on the GFC and started. I only had 3 karts under my tent the first race, and they weren't, I think there was only one on a GFC. The other 2 were Cosmics, and we just kind of went from there, growing and growing.
When did you meet Gary, and when did you start driving? Can't remember when you started driving for him.
2020.
Okay, so it was 2020. Okay.
Yeah, 2020 was the first year.
When did you kind of meet him?
Or no, it'd be 21.
21. So after COVID.
20 was back to 20. I went back to RPG.
Okay.
And did the Tony kart for the year.
That's right. Yep. So when did you kind of meet and talk with him for the first time about racing with him and racing under the GFC 10?
After Rock Vegas in 2009, or I guess 2020 Rock Vegas. It was like, all right, we're going to do something else or not race. It was like we were debating on if we're just not going to race anymore. I was just going to be done, or we were going to try one more time kind of thing.
So do you kind of feel like he's kind of a little bit of a mentor, especially now that you're kind of in the industry side of things, where he can help guide you along the way? So he's kind of like a Mike Rollison, where Mike kind of helped you in the driving side of things, where now he's kind of helping you on the business side. Yeah.
And I learned a lot about Gary's way of thinking about how the go-kart works. And instead of just hoping for the best when you make a change, I know I have a much greater understanding of how the go-kart works, how the engine works. Whether that helps me at the end of the day or not, it's hard to say. But on the team side, it definitely helps, because I can take the driver feedback that doesn't really mean anything to most people and turn it into a change that I think is going to work.
Okay.
So I've learned a lot about how the dynamics of the karts, and then like you have this on to the Tony kart shifter, you like get a new one and you're like, man, this thing does this, this, and this. You're like, it's weird. Must just be a different this. Like, you don't know. You just say that it's a Tony kart. They're all the same. Where now, like with Gary, like, oh, we changed this material. Okay, I feel that change. It was small. This change does this. This change does that. And now I've learned I can be like, oh, I want this or I want that kind of thing.
I was just going to say, it's probably more about the material that you kind of better understand, because that's something that's been part of the GFC brand, is the development of the material itself. So it probably not only helps you with your driving, but also helping the drivers that you're under your tent understand exactly what changes will do at certain times and with certain things that you do to the kart itself.
Exactly. So now I know, the reasoning, I don't think everyone needs to know the reason you do this or that, because it's too much information. Then it could get you because when it's going wrong, you can overthink it. And you're like, I was like, when we were I was like, oh, it just hits the front tire too hard. We need to soften, like we need to do this or that. And I knew that that's not the problem, but we still changed it.
Yeah.
I know the problem is me, because I know the go-kart doesn't go faster, slower, but it's still, now I know enough to get myself in trouble sometimes.
It's part of learning. You're learning every time on the racetrack, right?
Yep. Yes. Always learning.
We pause this show for a quick commercial break. Stay tuned for more here on the EKN Radio Network. Be part of the premier regional kart racing series in the Lone Star State. Take part in the 2026 Texas Sprint Racing Series with their 5-race schedule that travels all over Texas and Louisiana. The season begins in March at the Speed Sports Racing Park in New Caney, Texas, before traveling east to the NOLA Motorsports Park in New Orleans at the beginning of May. The newly renamed Amarillo Motorsports Park in Panhandle, Texas will host the middle stop of the season in June. Trips to Kart Moto and Speed Sports complete our calendar, and we're excited to welcome all of our racers back to the track. The Texas Sprint Racing Series will make its third trip to the Kart Moto facility in Crescent, Texas at the end of August, after a month off in July, before drivers and teams will contest the series finale in late September, returning to Speed Sports Racing Park in Houston. Don't miss any of the action. Details on the rules and class structure, which includes the new Tillotson T4 senior category, can be found at TexasSprintSeries.com, along with a list of the full championship prize package for the official SuperKarts USA and International Kart Federation Series. The Texas Sprint Racing Series will be one of the biggest programs in the U.S. in 2026. Make sure you're there. Made in the USA. That's exactly what you get from Precision Karting Technologies. Based in Detroit, Michigan, PKT brings over 35 years of manufacturing experience to the sport of karting. Their passion for the sport began focusing around the Kid Kart platform and has expanded every year with hundreds of products designed to put you on the podium. Precision Karting Technologies is known around North America for their successful line of axles, available in all age groups. PKT manufactures a number of engine products for Comer, IAME, Rock, Rotax, and the popular Briggs & Stratton 206. A wide variety of chassis components for the many brands in the sport are available through PKT, including hubs, pedal risers, skid plates, and other hardware for your kart. Axle straightening, chassis adjustments, engine service, and specific CNC machining projects are available through their Motor City headquarters. To learn more about the many products and services available from Precision Karting Technologies, head to pktaxles.com. "2026 is shaping up to be another historic season for SuperKarts USA. Things kick off with the SCUSA Winter Series heading to the Lone Star State and the popular Speed Sports Racing Park. The opening event is slated for January 9th to the 11th, with the series finale set for the February 13th to 15th weekend at the New Caney, Texas facility. This year's SCUSA Pro Tour is primed to visit 3 different states from March to July. The 2026 SCUSA Pro Tour Winter Nationals will be held on March 27th to 29th at a location to be announced in the near future. The Spring Nationals is returning to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati in Batavia, Ohio over the June 12th to 14th weekend. And lastly, to cap off the series for the 12th time, Newcastle Motorsports Park hosts the SCUSA Summer Nationals in late July. This year's SCUSA Pro Tour champions will be crowned over the July 24th to 26th weekend in Newcastle, Indiana. Regional action is set for 2026 with the flagship Pro Kart Challenge program hosting 5 race weekends at 3 spectacular facilities, including the new K1 circuit in Winchester and Spring Mountain Karting in Nevada, in a schedule highlighted by a return to Sonoma Raceway. The Texas Sprint Racing Series is offering 5 rounds of racing in 2026, visiting 4 challenging circuits from March to September. Growth continues for SuperKarts USA in Mexico as well, with record numbers for the SCUSA Pro Tour Mexico and the Pro Kart Challenge Mexico Series. For information on all this and more, visit superkartsusa.com. Thank you for listening to the EKN Radio Network. We now join the show already in progress.
So speaking of learning, you went and did your first international trip. You went to Sarno, Italy, both for the Italian Championship and the finale for the FIA European Championship. Talk about kind of how that program came together. When did you decide to go, and what was it like being there for those 2 weeks?
I guess it started with Gary over the winter was like, "Hey, would you want to go?" It started as like a TV Kart was looking for a driver, and Gary's like, "Oh, can I suggest you as an option?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then they're like, they're not going to do it, which I never thought that they would, but it was still like a cool thing to think about. And I was like, well, he was like, well, do you still want to go? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I'll provide you all the material you need to go if you want to go. You just need to we'll figure out the other part. So it's like, that's how it came about. It's like, all right, we want to do the World Cup is the goal. But then to just show up for the World Cup, you don't have the relationship with Sani. You don't know the people. You don't know that it's just different a bit. So we're like, well, we should do a race first. So then we're truly prepared. And I wanted to do Genk instead of Sarno, but the timeline just didn't work out. I had a race, and then there was the race. I did the race at Sonoma as well. So it was Sarno was the option. And we all knew that going to Sarno as a first and going to Sarno for the first time in general was going to be a tough go. But we still tried to learn from it.
What I know the track has changed probably since Gary, since Gary's raced there or probably been there. What advice did he give? Anything about the racetrack itself?
Not to turn the steering wheel was his advice. And Ohio got a little gripped up, and then there was the grip patches, and he was watching the video of me because we were coaching the other guys. And I hit the grip patch and turn and straighten, and the thing kind of two wheels, and he's like, "Oh, you're ready." And two wheels, and you straighten the wheel, you're good. I get my biggest issue wasn't necessarily the grip level over there; it was actually the style of track. Because here we go the same speed, you go 90 plus in Ohio, Indiana, Texas, all these tracks you get up in that speed. But the actual size of the track is so much smaller. There we were going, I think I was going 88 4 times.
Okay.
So it's but then all the corners are big. You do turn one and you just lift and you're back on it. And then you're turning and then the back straight, you come on in fourth gear. It's this big open corner. But a lot of the stuff was tight on entry and then really open on the exit, which is not something that I'm used to. Not something I had experience with. And it's also even here, I struggle with this. In a tight corner, I always want to hold the wheel till the exit and get a straight. I think it's from the Honda. You just spun the tires really bad. So you just make the corner square and get on the gas. I remember the first time driving the KZ, I'm like, oh, you can just get on the gas and make more of an arc. Because I did in 2018, I did the Super Nationals in KZ. And I'd never driven anything besides a Honda, and we showed up to do Super Nats. And I was like, yeah, the KZ's easier. In 5th and 6th, it goes way faster. But out of the corner, I thought it was easier at the time. So I think some of my, I guess my driving style bad habits that I have are from the Honda 175, where you just drive the corner very angular, sharpened.
Okay.
So over there, you can't do that.
Yeah.
It was really bad. So I really focused on opening my steering wheel and rolling the speed off the corner.
So was there any positives that you took away from being there for 2 weeks?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely learned a lot about what I need to do in my driving. And we learned about how they tune the go-kart, how they set up the go-kart. Got to try a newer model and keep learning.
The tire grip, a lot more than what we have here.
At a pro tour, yes, but honestly, Tri-Cities, come August when we're there on the LeConte, it's the same. In Sarno, there was only one session where I had true two-wheel grip. I was going into the infield turn 4, and 3 laps in a row I went in hard, turned the wheel, and it kind of would two-wheel, and I controlled it from my practice around here. But at Tri-Cities, I was doing just a summer camp last year, and there's 20 karts on the track, or 15, and in a KA, and you turn in at 2 wheels. So come race time there in the shifter, I've had it where it's got a lot of grip. Just the track's so much smaller that it is a lot different feeling.
Gotcha. So the World Cup, as you mentioned, is coming up in September at Le Mans, France. What are you guys going there early? What's the plan for that?
Yeah, so they're gonna have a test race 2 weeks before or 3 weeks before. I think it's August 28th. So I'm working on that right now. I think I have a race. The shootout is Tri-Cities Saturday night. So then I'll need to be, I think there's a Sunday afternoon flight where I can drive home and make it on that flight to make it for the test.
Okay, so test beforehand and then go there and compete in the KZ2 World Cup. What is the goal going to Le Mans?
The goal is to win, but more realistic goal, I just want to be at the front, and competing for the win would be the real goal.
When you were in Sarno, was it comforting to know a few of the drivers, including Morgado and Irwin? I don't know how much you converse with them on a regular basis, but did you have other drivers that you kind of knew already and were able to kind of talk with?
I guess maybe Marin and Mateus are who I talked to.
Okay.
One night, me, Ellie, and Mateus got drinks because we stayed at the same hotel, and we were hanging out because I guess they speak English, so they were
it helps, right?
With. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Speaking of speaking, Sonny speaks English. Sonny Cervelli, who was mechanicking for you. Have you ever worked with him in that capacity before? Maybe like at the shop once in a while, like putting cards together. But how was that?
At RPG in 2020,
that's right.
We built a 30 mil and a 32, and we had both carts and we had 2 engines, and we went and tested. And Sonny made a joke at the time. We had 2 new carts, 2 new tires, like new everything. He's like, it feels like we're going up for a practice at the European Championship. And I was like, well, now we're going, Sonny.
That's
now we
pretty
get to
cool.
do the same thing.
That's pretty. Where was that testing at?
That was NOLA.
Okay.
The year it got the COVID year. So we went and tested the weekend before, and we were all ready.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy that you kind of he joked about it, and then 6 years later it happens. That's awesome. Let's wrap it up. I got a couple more questions, just kind of random ones that I ask during our show here. What has been your favorite racetrack, and what has been your least favorite racetrack in your career?
That's a tough one. I feel like I used to really like Sonoma, but now that we go and test at Sonoma,
the allure is gone. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. I think I like every time we go to Newcastle, I'm happy to be there.
Yeah.
At the track. Like the layout is good. It races and shifter good, especially when we run the standard layout, which we're running the shark fin, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always really like going there. Least favorite?
Well, let me get back to Sonoma. Is it just the repetitions of doing the same thing over and over again, or is it just it's become too easy? Or the tic-tac-toe is different now?
The tic-tac-toe definitely takes some of the fun out. I much prefer doing the pro layout without tic-tac-toe now.
Okay.
Tic-tac-toe in the shifter's pretty hokey feeling. You're kind of like in second, running around. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think actually a lot of it could be in the Honda. It was a lot slower. You could get, it was now the corners feel close together. The only time it feels like you have a place to go to the inside is down the main straight. It's a lot harder now racing. I think in years past in the Rotex Junior, the Honda, it was a lot easier to race. And I think it started when I was there in the Rotex Junior, I was really fast. And even in the Cadet, I was fast, and it was a fun track in the Cadet and the Rotex. I think now just the shifter, it's tight feeling. Like with the engine is the second gear, like you're on the limit of second gear all the time. And just kind of a more difficult racetrack to race.
Yeah. All right. So what's the least favorite track?
I think the least favorite right now is probably Houston.
Okay.
Just the one time, and we were just on ice, and you end up in a train white lining. No one can. I think I had a rough no. Oh, that's right. I spun out from second, so I ended up at the back, and everyone's just like in a train, right?
Yeah.
And you just can't. You can't go to the inside if you wanted.
So that's shifter wise, like single speed. When was the last time you actually raced single speed? I know you did Briggs, last year, right?
I did Briggs. I did CKNA in the Briggs last year. When
two cycles sidewise, like KA. Like, have you done a regional race in KA?
I did. I think 2 winters ago, I did a regional race in the Rotax.
Okay.
Before that, it was with CRG. I did the X30 stuff.
Okay.
Regionally, and it was because the X30 was competitive. Like Ryan was coming and running on the Burrell with Becklin, and Luke Selican was running with RBG.
Yeah.
And Jacob Gulick was running, and it was pretty competitive field. So, and the shifter was kind of you just go drive it around for fun at that point in time. So I would go and do the X30, and I could get close. And then finally I switched to the they had the FS4 206 kart, and for KA I switched to that and had a pretty good race at Pat Sakers.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love the FS4. We have one in our garage actually, so I've raced it a bunch of times. Who would you say is the toughest driver you have ever faced in your career?
I think about like the Supernet when I did like my first S1 race, that felt like the field was the most stacked. Like it doesn't, I guess now I know the drivers at the time were all drivers that you like looked up to and you saw, and then you just like show up. And I remember in morning warm up, I was on new tires and there was a guy on an FK that was on used tires, and I just watched him go away from me. And he's like, he's closer to the wall on the entry and the exit and the apex. I'm like, I ain't going to do that. And that was Gary.
I was going to say, it's a guy that was faster than you after your rib injury, right?
Yep. And I was like, that's not me right now. And I ended up, that race, I was running about 6th and got crashed.
Okay. Not by him, though.
But no, by DeConto.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
He couldn't let the little kid on the CRG be faster than him.
Yeah, it seems there's that little bit of attitude. Do you feel the attitude right now with the pro drivers is somewhat subdued? Like, again, you guys will go have some drinks afterwards, but on racetrack, it's like, hey, we're attacking and we're going. But what do you think of the atmosphere in the paddock today?
I think it's, for the most part, it's good. I think there's a bit of when the Europeans come here, they know there's no penalties by comparison. At an FIA event, if you run into them, you get a penalty.
Okay.
And if you eliminate them, you get disqualified. Like Louis got disqualified for the crash with me. Here, a 5-second penalty.
Right.
So it's like, and I had a little contact with Valiente, and I got a 5-second penalty. I'm like, okay. So it's like, they really. But then it's funny because then when they go that route, now any contact is a penalty. Well, it's hard to see all the contact. I like watched a couple things. I'm like, well, that's a penalty. And I think like the first couple heats, they kind of let it go. But by the 4th and 5th heat, any contact was a penalty.
Okay.
So when they come here, they know bump and run's okay. So there's a few drivers that don't use their brakes.
Yeah.
And it's the way our rules, it's the way the race is officiated. They're just taking advantage of that.
Okay. Well, let me wrap up with what is the future for Kyle Wick? Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years?
At some point, I'm going to have to stop racing. But I think I enjoy working in my dad's shop, but I also like the go-kart stuff. Right now, I have time to do both because I have a little bit of help at the shop. If I lose the help at the shop, I might have to work over here more days than I do right now. Right now, I work 6:30 to 5 at Wicked Fab and then come over to Wicked Racing each night. So at some point, I'm going to need a little bit more reasonable hours in the future. But I think I like doing the race team. I like coaching and I like going to the races. So I'm going to try to do that as long as I can.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Kyle, for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We wish you the best of luck at the upcoming Summer Nationals, where I think you're going to be pretty fast. You've been faster the last couple of years that we've been.
Yeah. Yeah. We had Ohio was good. I'm excited to go.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again. And thank you to everybody for joining us here on the EKN Hot Seat. Until next time.